Hi there. My name's Matthew B. Carter, and today I'm really excited to share with you Idyll, an expansion pack for Wavea Flite. This is really exciting for me because I was a big contributor to this particular preset pack, and a lot of the other sound designers used quite a few of the sources that I recorded for this pack. This is honestly my first impression with this pack. I haven't messed with any of these yet. I know a couple of them obviously because I made them, but I'm excited to see what some of the other awesome sound designers did with some of the sources I recorded. Overall, this is going to be more of an ambient, organic oriented sound bank, which is going to be good for cinematic productions, ambient electronic productions. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of versatility. I spoke with Sharuz, the head at Wavea, quite a bit. He was super willing to work with me, very friendly, and he seemed to like some of the presets I made, so I'm very happy that they were included in this pack. Just for the sake of transparency, I should state that I received a not for resale license in turn for making some of the presets for this, but no money exchanged hands, and I didn't get paid to make any of the content about this. So keep that in mind. I will say this is a sponsored video, but all the opinions and all the critiques and thoughts are my own. I'm just going to play around with some of these presets on my keyboard, try out some of the modulation options, and give you my thoughts about them. Here we have A Sudden Hush. It is more of a single note chord preset. Pretty cool modulation there. The next preset is Amorphous. I hear nice little pops and clicks that give me the sense of like analog tape or something like that, and definitely some warmth. Let's try out some modulation. Brings in a little bit more reverb. Seems to delay the attack of the pad. Armalite. It's a pretty interesting use of modulation there. Next is bass pad. Even though somebody else made this preset, they used the tongue drum that I sampled. You can hear that on this layer here. If I disable this layer, the sample of this tongue drum is a lot more realistic because I didn't just sample one note and stretch it across the entire keyboard. I sampled every single note on the tongue drum, which I believe was 13 total notes, and I sampled them at multiple different velocity layers. I tried to get, I think, 5 velocity layers for every single note, and I did a bit of noise cleanup on the sound as well, so you don't have a bunch of hiss from the microphone preamp or anything like that, and you get a really nice, mellow, but clear tongue drum sound. And you can hear each note is different. And let's see if we can hear the individual velocity layers. Now we have B-spit. Bel Air. I can already tell that's going to be great for cinematic uses. That's great. Even one single layer has so much going on. This was one of my favorite samples to use that's included in the factory set. Having spent a lot of time working with the program to create the presets I made, you can definitely hear how much time and effort and work went into the presets that these other sound designers made. Here we have Cansplain. Nice. In this preset, we have Glassy Kalimba that I recorded, which was a normally sampled kalimba that I ran through Paul X Stretch, and it created this really unique, almost glass flute-like sound where it delayed the attack of the kalimba pluck. You still get the metallic sound of the kalimba tine, but you have a bit of a softer attack leading into it, which I really like. Chimera. I think this long string ambience might be a preset that I made in Vital that I then ran through Paul X Stretch as well. Think it is. I don't want to be taking credit for somebody else's work here, but I know that Sharu's mentioned that I think 9 or 10 of my originally recorded instruments or original samples used in the samplers were used in the presets, but they were renamed, so I'm not 100% sure if they're the exact ones that I made or not. Next, we have Cytokine. I know that I had a preset named Cytokine, but I think this is different. I love that squelching synth pad that comes in. That's great. String Like Longer is definitely one that I recorded. And I love how it was used in this preset. Let's see what's going on here. Synth is doing the bass duty. You know what's crazy? This String Like Longer, I believe, is also the kalimba ran through Paul X Stretch and then just stretched really far to get an elongated string sound, a string-like sound. Let's refresh that preset and then try out some of the modulation. Okay, so it opens up that bass synth sound. You can play around with that. Delight in Angels. More of an organic piano sound here. I could see myself using that one a lot. Whoa. Oh, that is some really intense modulation. That sounds awesome. Here we have Dirty E piano. I recognize that. Here's one of my actual presets. How about the modulation? Here is Droplets. Fields of Nephilim, or Nephilim. Sorry if I mispronounced that. That's great. Next we have Glacial Flow. Here's a good use of the mod sequencer to introduce some variation in the sound. Glass Summit. I remember this. Hollow Glass. Very good use of that tongue drum. Even the ones that have my name as the creator have definitely been modified. So in the same way that some of the sampling sources I used were used in the other sound designers' presets, some of the other sound designers must have tweaked some of my presets, which is really interesting. It's the first time I'm hearing that, and I really like some of the things they did. would say particularly useful in the lower register. Create a nice ambient drone and then build something on top of it. In motion, this is one of my favorite ones for sure. Create a rhythmic pulse with that tongue drum. As you mess around with that pad, maybe if you create an arpeggiated sequence, you can use the mod wheel to intensify the stereo width using the delay. Very nice addition there. Kinematic transition. Very nice. Next preset is lithium. This is definitely one of my favorite presets so far. I really love with Flight how far you can go to alter the original sampler source and how you can basically integrate, as you see, 3 or 4 different samplers with different voices and then edit them significantly to create a very heavily layered, unique sound. Magessus or Magesses? Magesses? I'm not sure exactly. Matt's kalimba. Pretty self-explanatory. This was my kalimba that I sampled. This instrument turned out particularly well in my opinion, even though I recorded it with a simple SM57 with a fed head on it. Made sure to get some really good sounding samples. And once again, I tried to keep the complete tail of the kalimba pluck, so you should have a very long sample to work with. Very versatile preset there as well. Morning Glory. Nord chord. Piano Dreams. remember this one. This was a dirtier version of the E-piano that I made in Vital and put into the sampler, as well as some of the kalimba samples stretched with Paul X Stretch. And you get a bit of the nice lo-fi bite with the built-in effect in Flight. And I think these effects, maybe all of them were made by Sine Vibes, who is a plugin developer that I actually really like. Some of the Sine Vibe plugins are my go-to for unique effects processing, and to have them built into Flight is really nice, especially the granular engine. It's great. The reverb's very nice as well. Psycho Circus. Reminiscing. Okay, I was waiting for a couple of these. I sampled my voice. I don't have the best voice in the world, but I did my best to try to keep a nice sustained note, and I did a bit of tuning as well. You're going to have some samples of my voice in here, so it's really cool to think that there's a commercial release that has samples of my actual voice in it, attempting to sing. In general, I love lo-fi processing, tape processing, bit crushing, things like that. You'll see that in a bunch of my presets, and you can always turn that off if you're not as interested in it. Here's lo-fi. Get a cleaner sound. Or use the macro. Rubber Bandit. Skychit. Really like that. Solo baritone. So once you get low enough, it's going to be my voice stretched down, but I think I did record an octave, maybe a little over an octave. I don't have a huge range in my voice, and I was struggling to keep the notes sustained, so you're going to hear some wavering, but it does sound very natural, and with some additional processing, you could get a pretty convincing vocal pad. We have subway strings. Oh, this is great. Next is Taiga. Kalimba and female choir. Okay. The depths. This was created using only the factory sound sources, but with a bit of modulation added. You can see that filter cutoff jumping. The final scene. This is one of my favorites. This was a very cinematic piano effect. Pretty useful in my opinion. Great for scoring. 30s pad. That's great. Really like that. Reverb string C5. Troll spit. This has a sampler of me doing a just humming and trying to extend it as long as I could. Maybe we can bring that down a bit. Yeah, you have a voice tune macro here. This is probably more in my original register. Very nice sound design by Shrews. Tween Spirit. That's just me holding down one note. Pretty wild. That's also some pretty fantastic sound design. Welcome back. Zen Pluck. Okay, so the tongue drum with the synth engine. And as you bring up the mod wheel, you introduce more of the synth. Okay. I like that. Zone of Enders. This is obviously taking full advantage of the note sequencer and mod sequencer. It's using singing tongue drum, which was the tongue drum I recorded once again through Paul Xstretch. That wraps up my basic overview of Idylls. I want to say thank you so much to the Wavea team for allowing me to work with you, and thank you to all of the other sound designers who tweaked my presets as well as used some of my sources in theirs. And I'm glad I could be part of this. All of the presets, regardless of whether or not they included me, sound great, and I'm going to be using them in a bunch of my projects as I like making music that definitely works well with this preset pack. I hope there's a lot of musicians out there who like what they heard and would be willing to check out this preset pack and use some of these sources in their music. I'd love to hear that. Feel free and share anything with me if you end up using some of these. Of course, you can dive a lot deeper into these presets, all the modulation options that were added by the Wavea team and other sound designers. This is basically scratching the surface of what you can do with this pack. And I hope you also have the ability to edit a lot of the sampled instruments that I added to this collection. Thanks a lot for spending the time with me to check these out. Have a great day.